The story unfolds as King Vajra goes to the Rishi to ask about how can he worship God, which is formless, without. Hi, Shrish.
Yeah. So today we have Geetika Jewel Chatterjee with us. She has done her Bachelor of Fine Arts from Delhi College of Arts, and then after that she did her Masters in Film and Video Communication from National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, which is one of the top notch institutes in India. And then after that she did her MFA from MS University, Baroda. Yeah. Today we have Geetika with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Geetika. So in India we have a lot of marvelous temples in North India as well as in South of India. So have you studied all these architectures, or is there any reference to it in our sculptures?
Yeah, so being a student of fine arts, we are taught a bit of Indian history and aesthetics, which is where I got some understanding of sculpture and architecture. And then later I was teaching in a college. I was teaching aesthetics, and through that also I got the chance to understand it a little more, although I'm not an expert on the subject. So there are two kinds of temple architectures. One is the North Indian style called the Nagara, and one is the South Indian style called the Dravida. And then there is a mixed style. So there is a very interesting treatise, Shastra, part of the Shastra. It's from Vishnupuran, which is part of the Vishnupuran. It was written in the 6th century AD, and it is one of the oldest treatises on temple architecture and art in the world, actually. So it was written during the age of the Guptas, and Gupta age is considered to be the golden age of Indian art. So this Vishnupuran Puran contains within it a exhaustive text on theory and practice of temple architecture, painting, image making, even music, even like dancing and poetics. And it is done in the way of discourse, like a question and answer form between a master and a seeker. So here the master is Rishi Markandeya and the seeker is King Vajra. So the story unfolds as King Vajra goes to the Rishi to ask about how can he worship God, which is formless, without smell, without touch, which is so abstract and infinite. How can he make an image of that God? And then the Rishi answers to him on how he can create the image. So when King Vajra goes to Rishi Markandeya to learn the art of Shilpa, Rishi Markandeya says that if you want to learn Shilpa, you have to understand the art of painting, which is Chitra. But it is difficult to understand the laws of painting or Chitra without the knowledge of technique of dancing, Nritya, because dancing teaches you about space, understanding of space.
Yeah.
Then he says, however, to understand dance, one has to understand the laws of instrumental music or Vadya, because the idea of beats, idea of timing, all this is only understood by music. Then if you want to understand music, one has to understand vocal music, which is Gan. So to understand Vadya, one has to understand Gan. So in this way, Sage Markandeya helps us to understand that all arts are interdependent on each other, and the base of all fine arts is music. So this was a very interesting story which tells us that in such ancient understanding of our culture lies the understanding of fundamentals, the clarity with which they understood that all arts emerge from each other and support each other progressively. That is one interesting story. That is how the Vishnupuran Puran starts, and then it goes on. and it has many chapters. For example, chapter 1 talks about how, like what I said, interdependence of arts and origin of image making with this story. Chapter 18 to 19 deal with vocal and instrumental music. And like 20 to 34 deal with dance and drama. Similarly, like 44 to 85 chapters deal with Pratima Lakshan, which means iconography. So yeah, till today, like we always stick to a very standard iconography all over India and the world in the temples, where Vishnu will hold a certain tool and a shastra in his hand on left and another on the right, as opposed to Shiva, who will always have a certain dress code, as opposed to Krishna, with the color depicting him will be very different. So all this is written in this Pratima Lakshan part, Khanda of this Vishnu Dharmottara. And like chapter 86.
Yeah. So all this information, how do you think all the artisans, they are able to remember this? Is it by tradition, or do you have any?
So they used to have like guilds, guilds or these workshops, collective schools, where there was one main architect, a main sculptor, main painter, and actually even in this Vishnu Dharmottara, it is written the code of conduct for the artist. So if you read, it's very interesting that the artist had to go through many purifications. He had to purify his mind and body first. Then he had to read the shastras. They had to actually study the shastras and all the canons, all the rules. They had to memorize them. Then also there was one conduct written where they have to go to the forest and meditate and talk to God and ask God, please reveal me your form, and meditate on what images are coming in his mind. So it was like a direct intuitive perception and not something forced for the artist to recreate God as. So it's very interesting that artist was not just a muscle. Artist was a mind who was creating art and the iconography. An artist was also a medium of translating the divine understanding into the physical matter. So artist had a very important role in those times. Yeah.
Okay.
Just like a cook used to have an important role, he had to be very purified. He had to take a bath and enter the kitchen and recite some mantras while cooking. So similarly, for us, the understanding of the divine is not only four walls of the temple. It's not a building. A temple is a living, it's a kind of a space which can transform your mind, which can channelize some energies to you, and which is kind of depicting a microcosm of the macrocosm. It's making you remember some things. So for us, there was a greater understanding of things which we translated through the matter by best way possible, by using numbers, by using proportions, iconography, syllables, for example, as in mantras. So the best way we were trying to translate the abstract into the more tangible.
Yeah. I read it somewhere in some book that not only 0 but 1 to 10, these numbers are also the decimal system that was kind of invented here, because we used to do a lot of astrology. So so a lot of numbers were required for that.
Yeah, because the practice is such that it's a trifold creation. Whenever the understanding develops in anybody who connects in the yogic way, he understands matter as well as at the same time the mathematics which is influencing the matter, as well as the form that is being created with this interaction of the abstract and the material creating the manifested universe. So all the sages and the rishis will know mathematics. They will know the more worldly application. For example, Patanjali would create this Ayurveda and Yoga Sutra. So all sages had a spiritual understanding, had a more scientific understanding, which was applied in medicine or astrology or mathematics, algebra, etc. And they also had the understanding of the form aspect. Like Bharat Muni, he wrote Natya Shastra. So he is a Muni, but he created a treatise on dance and drama. So the understanding was never compartmentalized like we have today. Like a mathematician will only study mathematics and a dancer will only study dance. For them, everything was learnt threefold at a time, because that's the nature of creation. Number manifests as form, and form is also present as vibration or the sound. So yeah, it was very different kind of learning.
Yeah, correct.
Of that particular deity. So everything you see is form translating formless. So if you see mrig, which is deer, it represents beauty and desire, for example. And like a chakra, wheel represents time, for example. All the mudras, every deity will be having some mudras, the gestures of the hand. So each finger represents something, and for example, one will be representing wisdom, one will be representing the giving nature, one will be representing fearlessness. So understanding that the temple is symbolizing something which cannot be symbolized, but it is trying to teach you something through material, which is something immaterial. That should always be remembered. That's what I think people forget, that they give too much importance to the form, but what is actually important is that which is beyond it. So yeah, so iconography, to understand iconography is not easy. We have like a sea of understanding, culture, history, and translations. So I think people should start studying when they have time, slowly. And there are many levels to Indian culture, Indian art. So understanding history is one, understanding the spiritual iconography is another, understanding the translation of that in the visible and translation into the intangible. That wisdom has to be acquired by studying another kind of texts. So sometimes we can go to temples only to study sculptures and the mudras. Another time you visit, only experience energy in the Garbhagriha, the main deity's energy. Sometimes you should only go and see the architecture, the division of space. Sometimes, like you'll see in many Dravidian temples, there are different tiers. So in the lowermost, there'll be mostly flora. Then there'll be fauna, the animals. Then there'll be some lower beings, the demons especially. Then on top will be human, and then there'll be devas. And on the topmost will be the main deity. So there is a hierarchical structure of like evolutionary structure to it. So there is many levels to temple and Indian art. Iconography.
I think when somebody goes to the temple, he can really keep an eye for all these details. That would really interesting. So thank you very much, Geetika, for being with us and giving us so much of your valuable time.
Thank you. It is my honor to be here. I'm very thankful to you to give this opportunity.